Abby Tadros here at the WBTV News Now desk. Happening right now, Charlotte and Mecklenburg police are giving us an update on efforts to reduce violent crime involving guns in the Charlotte area. Want to bring you up to speed on something before we get to that news conference. In March of 2021, Charlotte and Mecklenburg police introduced us to a gun crime suppression task force, and now they're giving us a heads up as far as how things have gone in a year's time. So let's listen in.
Another big part to the equation is the work being conducted by our crime gun suppression team. And we're going to have Lieutenant Andy Royston here with us today to go into some of the great work that they have done. Just this year, they've made 28 arrests and seized 29 firearms. Now, Lieutenant Royston is going to speak to us about a particularly lengthy and involved investigation that is paying dividends for the Charlotte Mecklenburg community. Lieutenant?
Good morning. Again, my name is Andy Royston. I'm assigned to the Special Investigations Bureau here at CMPD. Specifically, I oversee the crime gun suppression team. I want to highlight one of our cases is involving a group. We were out specifically targeting this group. They were known violent offenders, suspected in multiple shooting into occupied properties, so they were on our radar. Started the morning doing our investigation. We're able to develop probable cause into a specific apartment on Panorama Avenue in the North Tryon Division. We then applied for a search warrant. Granted the search warrant, and as a result of that search warrant, it was pretty good look for us. We seized 9 firearms, 10 pounds of marijuana, and nearly $6,400 U.S. currency. We did make 5 arrests that day on scene and gathered enough information to make a 6th arrest at a later time, and I'll discuss that one as well. Continued the investigation on to a second location at the 27 block of Haversham Court. That was our suspect we had gained probable cause on from the search warrant on Panorama. That day we conducted another search warrant. We seized another handgun, 8.5 pounds of marijuana, and $5,300 U.S. currency. And again, we continue to work these group of people, assisting with our partners in North Carolina Probation and Parole on February 9th. Doing an operation, we located one of the subjects we originally arrested on January 21st, and yet he was again in possession of another handgun. So in total from this group, we seized 11 firearms in less than a month, and that's very troubling to us. The key that we work on is we partner with the division crime reduction units, and our state and local partners and federal partners to try to address these violent incidents. One message I would love to put out there is please secure your firearms. You cannot leave them in your vehicle unlocked, secured. We have to take more responsibility in preventing the guns getting on the streets of Charlotte. At this time, is there any questions?
Oh, yes, I'm Morgan Francis. So go ahead, Morgan.
Go ahead, Morgan.
Say it one time.
Go ahead, Morgan.
No. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions I may answer?
All right, Sarah DeLea.
All right, Sarah, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for taking our questions. I did want to ask, you mentioned the tragic death of Ethan Rivera, and I wanted to see if there was any updates on that case, if there was any updates on that suspect. I don't believe he's been taken into custody, but if there's any information about if he's armed or dangerous or anything like that that we could share with our listeners, that would be great.
Yeah, let me refer to Lieutenant Fishbach for that, because that's his well. I was just discussing the crime gun suppression team. I'm sure he can answer your questions.
Hey, good morning, Sarah. So we pushed that information out on Monday, and that suspect has not been arrested for those outstanding warrants at this time. We do continue to ask for the community's help in providing any information to Crime Stoppers on that gentleman's whereabouts, 704-334-1600. And what I can tell you is we have detectives from multiple investigative units within the CMPD working with our partners, partnering agencies in the area, doing everything they can, working tirelessly to bring justice and resolution to that case.
I have Jess from Queen City News.
Okay, Jess from Queen City News.
Thank you. Good morning. Two follow-ups to Sarah's question. Have you interviewed the parents of the suspect, and are they cooperating? And is the FBI involved in the search?
Well, and at this time, that is part of that active investigation, and, we can't release that information. But with that, you mentioned one of our partner agencies. One thing that CMPD has always been great about is utilizing those resources that we have with other agencies, and we're also very appreciative for those partnerships that we have. Look, we're pulling out all the stops, and like Captain McNally said, we're coming to find this guy, and we're going to do what we can. We're going to exercise all the holistic resources available to us to take someone off the street who's charged with a very serious crime.
I have Kendall from WCNC.
Kendall from WCNC.
Hi, thanks for taking my questions. I have two questions on different cases. CMPD sent out the press release yesterday about the sexual assault, kidnapping of a 17-year-old girl that was taken from the Charlotte area to Davidson County. And I think there's some confusion about how many suspects were involved in this and how many suspects is CMPD looking for, because Davidson County said that they had arrested one suspect in a release. CMPD sent out pictures saying that they were looking for two suspects. So I just wanted to clarify what CMPD is looking for, who CMPD is looking for.
Okay, and we can also follow up offline on that to make sure that everything's nailed down tight. But with the information we put out yesterday, we are looking for the two suspects that were in that series of photos that we sent out yesterday. And again, we continue to ask for the community support, and to our media partners, we always appreciate you being that vehicle that gets us to the community, that gets that information out there. We know we couldn't do that without you, and again, we implore the community. You have information on that? Crime Stoppers, 704-334-1600.
All right. I have Dee from WBTV.
Dee from WBTV.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. When we see the families like Ethan Rivera's, what does your team want them to know specifically with Ethan's killer still out there?
Well, we want them to know that the CMPD is here for you, and we do that in a variety of ways. We make ourselves available through not just the investigative unit assigned to that case being accessible to the family and in coordination with them, but also with our victim services. We're here to help them holistically, not just work their case from a criminal investigation standpoint. We want that family to know we're here for you, to help navigate what's to come. Not just through the legal system, but I can only imagine, I haven't been in their shoes, but for what's to come, both emotionally as well as navigating life without their loved one here. So ultimately, to that family, and unfortunately to the families in the future, the CMPD is here to help you through that process.
Morgan Francis.
Ms. Francis.
All right, let's try this again. So you mentioned with this recent operation, suggested that people lock up their guns. Have you traced these back to private citizens, or have these been stolen from gun stores, as we've seen with the suspect in the deputy shooting, as well as I believe there was another attempt to steal from a gun store overnight at a different location unrelated to the suspect in the deputy shooting. So are you tracing these back to thefts from gun stores or private citizens? My other question is if you could just repeat the addresses for, I think there were, 3 locations for this recent operation. If you could just repeat those for me, that'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for bearing with us, Morgan. I know it's always a challenge as we hold these virtual press conferences. I'm going to bring Lieutenant Royston back up here, but to hit your back end question about those addresses, Lieutenant Royston will be happy to repeat that information, but we're also going to send out a media release with that information stated out in writing following this morning's press conference. Lieutenant?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, about the addresses, the first one where we started was in the North Tryon Division. It was at the 5500 block of Panorama Avenue. And then the second search warrant was the 2700 block of Haversham Court. As far as the guns coming back stolen, as of yet, none of those 11 that were recovered came back stolen. The crime gun suppression team does average quite a few stolen guns, but we're not seeing any from the gun store break-ins, mainly from private citizens. That's why we're trying to encourage and remind people to take that responsibility, to secure your firearm, to keep it from getting out on the street and somebody else getting hurt.
Great. I think that's it. Wait, Sarah DeLay, sorry.
Yes, ma'am, Sarah.
I had one more question about the Ethan Rivera case, real quick. Do you all consider the suspect in this case to be armed and dangerous? Do you have any advice for people that may come across him or know his whereabouts?
Yeah, Lieutenant Fishbaugh.
And just make sure I heard your question correctly, Ms. Sarah. You were asking, do we consider that suspect armed and dangerous, and what should our citizenry do if they know about his whereabouts? Is that right? Okay. So you know the kind of case that we're investigating with this, and the violent nature of this case. So anytime we cast our officers and detectives out there to do a very dangerous job, locate someone who is charged with this type of crime. Of course, we consider them armed and dangerous. And we should all be thankful for the service and the job that those officers and detectives do going out there and trying to safely take someone in custody for those crimes. What we're asking from the community is, don't confront this person. Don't make any overt efforts yourself. If you know where this person is, we're asking information be called in through Crime Stoppers, 704-334-1600. Provide us as much information as you can in that tip, and then let the professionals do their job. This is dangerous work. I'm appreciative of these set of people who are willing to do that work. Let's get them the information. Let's let them do what they do. All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending this morning. As always, feel free to hit us up in that CMPD PIO inbox for additional questions. And then to our media partners, be on the lookout for that media release that is coming. Thank you.
All right, if you are just joining us, we got an update from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police. Efforts to reduce violent crime in the Charlotte area. We know that they introduced their crime gun suppression team about a year ago, and now we are getting an update from them in terms of how that's been going. They say that they've closed in on a group of known violent offenders. They say that that group of individuals linked to multiple shootings, and they were able to arrest at least 6 individuals and seize at least 11 guns in connection with that effort. Right now, they say those efforts continue, and so we, of course, will stay on top of this. We also know our Sharon Hayes is listening into that news conference this morning, and she will join us taking a deeper dive and a closer look into those numbers coming up during our noon broadcast.